عودك بسرا بزوغين مريت كرامته قرأتنا رشاشات عارف زيري قدس قداماتنا بابد عاطينا عبد صادف كدل تتخوى جمو تميت عصبو قصامو وجخامو يوخوي نسات مصائخي كجي بس بشمو سمي أهين يا أواف سمايك زمرا زمالة صنتنا علمك بسرا فتاركي تبسر كتبرق صحينا نفتر حدش معرف عقل مصائنا فتاركي تبسر كتبرق صحينا نفتر حدش معرف عقل مصائنا
أنا حالي تاريخ هون بصراحة
سميعين يا وفك زمرا سميعين يا وفك زمرا سميعين يا وفك زمرا تنسائخي تقراين دبلا تنسائي تقارو تنسائي تقارو تساعدتقارو عودك بسرا قزات زي لمدي سيشرك معقل سلمن النتو تنتاك زيكتاتل بفقرة زندت عالقال النابلي سلك الله تقراي وقت خفالي سمي أيام يا عواف سمعك زمرا زمانة سنتنا عالمك بسرا سميعين يا وفك زمرا سميعين يا وفك زمرا سميعين يا وفك زمرا تنسائخي تقراين دبلا تنسائي تقارو تنسائي تقارو تنسائي تقارو عودك بسرا ብዙ ኮይኑ መሬት ክቀራመትዎ ግራትና ረሻሻት ዓረር ዝሪእሞ ቅዱስ ገዳማትና ባሩድ ዓጢኖሞ ኣበጻድፍ ገደል ዝተኻወደሙ ጥሜት ዓጸቡ ጻሙኡ ድኻሙ ሆይ ህንጸት መጻኢኺ ክድበስ ብሽሙ ስሚዐየን ያዕዋፍ ሰማይ ክዝምራ ዜማ ነጻነትና ዓለም ክበስራ ፍጣርኪ ተበስር ክትበርቕ ፀሓይና ምፍጣር ሓድሽ ምዕራፍ ዕድል መጻኢና ፍጣርኪ ተበስር ክትበርቕ ፀሓይና ምፍጣር ሓድሽ ምዕራፍ ዕድል መጻኢና
Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, today we have the panel discussion on space based on the Giving Tuesday for TDRF. You probably have seen the posters being advertised and then some tweets about it as well. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for our panelists as well for joining us. I know you're all joining from different parts of the world, so we appreciate you being here. So I just want to get started first of all with kind of explaining what the space is about. The space is will be hosting a general discussion, kind of a collaborative dialogue, focusing on the challenges the education system in Tigray faces currently. It will also kind of try to tie in the different perspectives of all our panelists. As you can see, we have various panelists who can shed light on their own perspectives, depending on where where they're coming from. That could be an NGO, non-profit. It could be a government bureau. It could also be as an individual who's an expert in that field. So just to introduce, I mean, I don't think TDRF needs any introduction, but TDRF was founded in 2018 by a group of young professionals in the diaspora in response to an increased Tigrayan displacement in various parts of Ethiopia. And it was founded in 2018. As you know, there was a lot of insecurity for Tigrayans during that time. One of the main aims of TDRF is that it seeks to improve the quality of life through various sectors, that's health, education, economic relief, by running initiatives for communities across Tigray. So far, when we kind of focus on the impact that it's had on children in Tigray, it has supported over 3,659 children, whereas this includes Tigrayans who were also uprooted from their homes and were IDPs in Sudan. Also, they have provided uniforms, backpacks, and also collaboratively worked with various organizations in terms of health as well, and then providing books and essentials for students. When we focus on what Giving Tuesday is about, Giving Tuesday, when it comes to this specific initiative around education, just to kind of tell you what your money will be doing and where your money will be going to. For $25, you would be able to provide school supplies for children. For $50, you will be providing 10 teachers with care packages. I mean, I do not want to stress, I mean, I'm sure you all know how important teachers will be and have been. And also in terms of getting the children back to school, how important it is to show appreciation and encourage and support the teachers in Tigray. For $100, you'll be able to purchase a blackboard, that is something that is, a long-term investment, because it would serve more than one classroom of children, but various, grades, various children who come in and out of school. So it is something that's a long-term kind of investment. For 125, you will be able to purchase a desk for these children. Just to kind of mention and briefly, I mean, I'm sure you all know, but for those of you who don't, about the numbers when it comes to the children affected, due to a lack of education, and like what that means. 2.3 million children are currently out of school in Tigray. 85% of schools in Tigray have been damaged or destroyed. 1.5 million children are in need of psychosocial support when it comes to all the trauma they've experienced in the last couple of years due to the war. And although enrollment has begun, I think according to the Bureau of Education, around 23.3 of children have enrolled since schools have reopened in May in 2023. So I would just like to kind of introduce our panelists. I'm sure you know them, but I will kind of try to give a brief introduction of who we have here with us today. First of all, we have Dr. Salomon Mazgabo, who is a representation of the HBS independent public media. HBS is an independent public media providing quality universal education in Tigray. It provides a platform for more than a dozen Tigray-focused media to broadcast their programs. And it also, in relation to education, it runs a vital virtual education program in Tigray. And it allocates more than 6 hours a day on virtual education for children who have missed out on a number of years of schooling due to the war. And then we also have Lisano Ashabir. Lisano is an education management professional. Lisano began his career as a school teacher and progressed to the role of school principal as deputy education manager at SOS Children's Village, Ethiopia. He greatly contributed to educational initiatives. With nearly a decade of experience as an educational consultant, he has also provided valuable insights and expertise to various projects and institutions. We have Dr. Kiros Ghosh, who's the head of the Tigray Bureau of Education in Tigray. Dr. Kiros Ghosh, formerly the associate president of Aksum University, teaching inorganic chemistry, and currently serving as the head of the Tigray Bureau of Education. We have Lisa Harris, who is from Rai Hewitt. Lisa Harris is a founder and president of the organization. Rai Hewitt, meaning Vision of Life, is a volunteer-run scholarship program that enables young women in rural northern Ethiopia, district of Hagara Salam, to continue secondary and post-secondary education. They have supported 63 students to continue education, with several graduating from law, accounting, teaching, and other post-secondary schools, and returning to serve their communities. Although their work has been largely it's been challenged because it has come to a halt because of the war in Tigray. They have since spring 2023 have revamped their efforts to continue with their project. Next, we have Rowena Bida Mariam, sorry. She's from Haben Tigray. Haben Tigray is a relief and development association, sorry. It has been established to support the people of Tigray affected by the war. It was established in November 2020. No, sorry, I think it was established in January, if I'm not mistaken. But due to the war in the war of November 2020, Haben Tigray was a part of the Tuna B'day. Sorry, forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a camp in Sudan, and they were involved with a project that they ran there, focusing on computer literacy. This project is a part of the Wellness Center in Sudan, which was built for Tigrayan refugees displaced as a result of the war. Rowena herself is a PhD candidate at the University of Maryland and is a vice president for the organization. Next, we have Professor Getachew Assefa, who I'm sure we all know from UMD Media. UMD Media is an independent media focused on solution-oriented and evidence-based discourse that's focused on the various sectors in Tigray and socio-economic and political natures of issues arising from the region. Professor Getachew is an associate professor, of sustainable design at the School of Architecture and Planning and Landscape in Canada. He has over 20 years of experience of teaching and research and covers Canada, Sweden, China, and Ethiopia. I apologize. I think we had Simrat here. I wanted her to speak. I think just a bit more about TDRF. But she's not here. It's fine. We can. Oh yeah, you are here. Hi, Simrat.
Hi,
Hi.
Mel. I'm
Okay,
here.
great. So you could take the mic and just tell us a little bit more about what TDRF has done and what you guys plan on doing as well.
Thanks, Mel. Hi, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving to all that celebrate. As Mel said, my name is Simret, and I'm here representing TDRF today. As Mel mentioned, today we'll be diving into an important discussion about the impact of this genocidal war on Tigray's education system. And I think Mel has mentioned the numbers before, which are very worrying. And this war has taken us, I think, 100 years back um, from where we were now. So this war's disruption on the education system has consequences that stretch across generations, not just for the children now, but their children and their children's children. Children missing out on school due to this type of war generally struggle to catch up, creating a cycle of limited opportunities and lasting economic disparities. This pattern repeats itself in war-torn communities worldwide, trapping the communities in a cycle of poverty they just cannot come out of. So it is our responsibility not just to rebuild the schools and rebuild the system, but also to rebuild the shattered lives of these Tigrayan children. And we have to bring normalcy to the children by sending them back to school, because I think even prior to the war, Dr. Kiros can confirm this, but a lot of children were already out of school because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, as TDRF, we have organized this panel discussion and launched a Giving Tuesday campaign that focuses on education. We all need to contribute to rebuilding Tigray's education system with what we can, whether financially or intellectually. Dr. Kiros will speak on this, I hope, but it will take a lot of funds, I'm sure millions of dollars, to rebuild the system and put us back where we were before. But I think this is just a start. We are this is literally like the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot that needs to be done. So as TDRF, we're just starting. We are hoping that we can make small contribution to, like, restart the education system and send Tigrayan children back to school. Therefore, we hope you can support this campaign and support teachers and students' lives. Mel has mentioned the different amounts and what they translate to on the ground. And this will definitely make a huge impact and difference in the teachers and students' lives. And I want to say thank you to all the panel discussants and you, Mel. And we look forward to hearing about different experiences and recommendations from our experts. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Simrat. Simrat is the Executive Director of TDRF. So thank you, Simrat, for delving into that. So we will start with our questions. I know we have Dr. Kiros Ghosh here. Dr. Kiros, thank you for joining us. Thank you for making yourself available for this discussion. Before I start, can I just mention that we do have the link above for donations. Please, as we are discussing, I mean, we are talking about some of the challenges and also like in-depth issues, but please do not forget that without donations, TDRF will be very challenged to do any of their work. So please be generous with your donations. I know this is Thanksgiving also, so give thanks to TD initiatives and resource mobilization and relations with NGOs, nonprofits in general, and what is anticipated in the future. What can we expect from the various initiatives that the Bureau is running? If you just unmute, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Melat, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity just to describe some of the issues that we are working as the post-war, post-genocidal recovery and reconstruction efforts of the education sector. So just before I describe the initiatives that we are implementing, first I would like to shed some light on how the devastating war affected the education system in Tigray. So before the war, Tigray was one of the regions of Ethiopia that was doing well in education, especially in achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal number 4. So we able to make the average walking distance to get a primary school to about 2.5 kilometers, and the average walking distance to get a secondary school was about 7.6 kilometers. And before the crisis in 2020, we had 2,492 schools, and we had about 1.46 million students, and there were 46,000 teachers who are teaching for the students, and we had about 30,000 electronic devices, including computers and other related materials, more than 13 million textbooks, and more than 300,000 different teaching aid materials, laboratory equipments. So as a result of the war, all just get destroyed. So the war on Tigray has destroyed essentially 4 important backbones of the education system. The one that damaged is the physical infrastructure of the schools. So all the schools are either partly or completely destroyed, and all the just the buildings and the the school equipment and all infrastructure get collapsed, and our human resource devastated to unprecedented level, I can say. And more than 14,000 teachers are now unaccounted. This is in addition to the economic and psychological trauma inflicted on the existing teachers. And the third important backbone that get collapsed is the curriculum. Now 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, 8 years old children who should have been in their 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd grades are all registered at grade 1, and you can imagine what that it mean. And the fourth important aspect that get collapsed is the administrative and the bureaucratic, the working system in general get collapsed. So these are the most important aspects of the or backbones of an education system, and this all get collapsed, and more than 2.4 million children of Tigray are out of school for the last 4 years since 2020. And just to give you some light on what does this number tells us, for example, according to the UNESCO, globally there are 244 million children out of school, and out of those 244 million children, 2.4 million are from Tigray, and that means we are contributing 1% of the global children out of school. But if you compare the population share of Tigray compared to the global is 0.07%. So you can imagine what does it mean. And in Ethiopia, for example, according to the UNICEF data that has been released just 3 or 4 weeks before, there are 7.6 million children out of school in Ethiopia, and 2.4 of them are from Tigray, and Tigray has a population share of 6 or 7% out of this 120 million population. But in terms of children out of school, 31.5% are from Tigray, and this is so painful and staggering data. And when you compare the school destruction, for example, in Ethiopia, there are 56,000 schools. Out of those 56,000 schools, 4.9 schools are in Tigray. But when you compare the destruction of schools in Ethiopia, according to the UNICEF report, there are 8,552 schools that get collapsed or damaged because of different conflicts in Tigray, Afar, Amara, Benshangul, and Oromia regions. So even though we contribute 4.9 schools in Ethiopia, but in terms of the damage, 29% of schools damaged in Ethiopia are from Tigray. So this is staggering that as a result of the all issues that I mentioned, uh, uh, just there are staggering data. So, you know, the damage in just Tigray education sector is not something random. It is not because there is a war and the war has its own collateral damages, but the destruction in Tigray is purposely, deliberately, and the systemic destruction of the education system that emanates from the objective of the war. The objective of the war has they told us that their objective is to erase Tigray from the map, Tigrayans from the surface of the earth, from history and the co-science of humankind. So if your objective is this one, then for it is naturally true that you target the education system, and that's why they purposely targeted and destroyed our education system. So as a Pretoria Peace Agreement, we are now just trying to respond to this emergency. And as a result of that peace agreement, we able to reopen some schools in May 1, 2023. And just relatively, well, in approximately 1 million children are getting back to school. Just we call it a school in quotation because there are no infrastructures and other equipments and supplies that make a school a school. So in that process, we categorized our demands into six, our priorities into six. The first priority that or the first initiative that we are taking is the fast rehabilitation, maintenance, and reconstruction of schools. We'd have some schools that need just equipment only. So when you buy computers, printers, combined desk, blackboard, and other related stuff, then the school can be school. But many of the schools need additional maintenance, and there are also some other many schools that need to be rebuilt because of the complete destruction. And the second initiative is teachers healing and development program. As a result of the war on Tigray, more than 14,000 teachers are unaccounted. Therefore, to replace these unaccounted teachers, and in addition, there is growing of population of students. So in the coming 2 years, we have to train more than 30,000 new teachers. This is one program, but the existing teachers are also, they need psychological healing, they need the training because they are in psychological trauma, and economically they are deprived. So they need to heal both economically and psychological. So this needs as a project. A third activity or third initiative is the leadership, the school leadership, starting from the school up to the bureau. There should be a healing and a development program. The fourth program is the curriculum development issue. Now we are using accelerated learning programs. So for the next 2 years, this accelerated learning program will be, or learning or education program will be continuing. But in the meantime, at federal level, they prepare a new educational policy. And in Tigray, there are new realities that insists, that demands us to have a new curriculum. Therefore, in this 2016, according to our calendar, we will prepare a new curriculum, and we will prepare accordingly new textbooks. And next year, this new next textbooks will be printed to be ready to 2018 according to our calendar. So this is our fourth initiative, is the curriculum development. Our fifth initiative is the technology assistance. Previously, there were different technology packages that assist the teaching learning process, but they are all get destroyed. Therefore, we need a technology assistance. We need to introduce the mass media just to broadcast educational contents using just television and FM radios. And it has two phases. Phase one is just a broadcast, and the second phase of this project will be just installation of TV screens in all the classrooms for high school students at least. The second aspect of this technology assistance is information management systems. As you know, all our data gets destroyed because our schools get burned. Therefore, we are collecting and just students' information, teachers' information, and all our schools' information. So for that, we need to have an information management systems at the bureau level up to school level. So this is a second aspect of our technology, and the e-learning projects are also on the pipeline. The sixth initiative that will help us in this recovery and reconstruction period is a school feeding program. And especially this year, there is a drought, or I can say all over Tigray, especially in three zones: Eastern Zone, and the Southeastern Zone, Southern Zone. In these areas, there is a drought, and you may have in some of the news outlets of about Abergele. So in many parts of Tigray, the school feeding should be implemented at country level, at Ethiopia level. There are 6.8 million children in the school feeding program. Unfortunately, in Tigray, we'd have less than 50%. I mean, less than 50,000 children are just in the school feeding program. You can imagine how much painful it is. So these are the initiatives that we are seeking support from all our stakeholders. And for this, we are working together with the NGOs and Tigrayan communities. With the NGOs, we'd have just a weekly cluster meeting with all cluster members of the education cluster, and there are just some activities that we are implementing together, especially on this emergency response period, and different communities, Tagaro communities, associations, and different stakeholders are also supporting this emergency response, like the one that we are doing today. So I guess these are the points that I want to mention. Maybe I can describe more based on your questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Kiros. Thank you for kind of explaining what the current situation is, the current reality for children in Tigray, and also what kind of initiatives that the Bureau has lined up for this. I think the important takeaways is that you guys, sorry, when I mean you guys, I mean the Bureau plans on being flexible with the kind of challenges it's being met with. And you guys are kind of looking at introducing new textbooks, which will be printed in the next couple of years, and also a new curriculum that will be ready also. And you are also looking into ensuring that there is technology that's able to support this as well, seeing as children have been out of school for the last couple of years. So thank you, Dr. Kiros. I will come back to you later. Thank you for giving us all that information. That was very detailed. If I can go to Rowena now, Rowena from Hub and Tigray. I know Asafa is here as well. So you guys can decide between yourselves who will be able to take that question. Um, Welcome to the both of you. So the question I'll pose to you guys in Haben Tigray is, how can we best support teachers and students in overcoming challenges, and what affordable methods and tools can we incorporate when it comes to psychological support into the school system? Just to give everyone a heads up, I think Dr. Kiros had a lot of information that he needed to communicate, seeing as the Bureau of Education is a government a government office that works on this matter. So I gave extra a couple of minutes, but if we can stick to a 7-minute speaker time frame, that would be great. So try to communicate as much as you can of what you want to say within that time frame. So yeah, the question is, how can we best support teachers and students in overcoming challenges? And when it comes to affordability, methods and tools that we can incorporate into psychological support into the school system. Thank you, Rowena or Asafa.
Got you. Maybe I can take a jab at that. I wanted to start by saying thank you to everybody who's here, and thank you for TDRF for organizing this panel discussion as well. It was, I mean, we know the facts, but it was still heartbreaking to hear Dr. Kiros kind of explain all the challenges that the educational platform in Tigray is basically facing. So how Haben Tigray at least aimed and still aims to kind of tackle one, training teachers or like developing teachers in a way that does not consume as much resources or in a way that's not resource intensive, and at the same time trying to bolster psychological support. Is we've been providing content via like servers, which means our educational content does not need internet access, which of course we've seen. We've been cut off from the internet and accessing information during the war, and that basically goaded us to make educational platform that does not rely on internet. So we basically, what we did is we compiled a lot of content, mostly open source content. It's things like Khan Academy, things like there are a lot of resources on, for example, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the type of therapy that has shown a lot of success in treating numerous types of psychological trauma. We have content about that. We have content on computer programming, on web development, on and other types of what I would consider supplemental and also complementary education to bolster not just the students that have, that don't have access, but also to then teach teachers so that they can then have a one-on-one teaching with students. So, for example, what we did in accordance or in cooperation with HPN, with TDRF, and with ECDC in Tanedba, which is that one word that you weren't able to say earlier, but it's Tanedba in Sudan, is we had this basically a wellness center, which has these computers, the servers, does not rely on internet, but it has 3 terabytes of content basically. And part of that content was content for psychologists and other counselors in the wellness center so that they can have access to the best practices. That way they could, without having to undergo maybe training that they don't have, or rigorous training that they don't have, or access to other sources that they don't have, they could easily have access to this computer that has all this information, watch videos, go through some training. That way they could offer these services to the students that were there, many of which had different traumas. So one way that we are trying to kind of close the gap is by offering content that is open sourced in a way that does not rely on internet. And some of this content is focused on psychological help and how to deal with trauma and other types of basically issues that we went through. It does have sections on like women education, and also how women can basically navigate not just the trauma in war, but also maybe career exploration. It does have vocational training content, so that's one way we're trying to basically bolster or kind of minimize that gap between the psychological trauma and teachers and how to effectively train them. and then also the educational need of Tigrayans. I hope that kind of covered some of the question. And let me know if you want me to be specific on any of those points. Thank you.
No, that was perfect, Arina. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us insight as to what kind of projects you guys have been engaged in as well. So we will come back to you also. If we can go to Lisano. Lisano, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So my question to you, Lisano, would be in terms of transformation action. So transformative action. When it comes to that, how can Tigray's education system right now, it's at a critical junction, and what kind of action can be taken at this junction? What in terms of your experience, what would you suggest as someone who's worked in this sector for many years? What is your perspective on this?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, good afternoon. Regarding the transformative actions for education, I think Dr. Kiros has discussed on the destruction of the facilities, educational facilities. And now I want to focus on the student learning issues and how we can transform the education system based on the data we have about the student learning, especially the learning loss occurred during the closure of schools. So to see the magnitude of the learning loss we experienced in Tigray, I think we need to take example of the COVID impact. During the COVID time, schools were closed for an average of 142 school days, and the learning poverty, which was 57% before the COVID impact, was increased to 87%. That is an increase of about 30% in learning poverty. When we come to our schools in Tigray, all schools were closed for about 600 school days during the war. And plus, if you add 142 school days, totally all schools in Tigray were closed for about 742 school days. So we can imagine the loss the students are experiencing. So we can take an example. If a grade 4 student, the one who was grade 4 before the closure, we can imagine how much he loses, and maybe he come back to the level of a grade 1 student. So now what we are going to do in our schools is that we have to do an assessment, especially when we started the schools or when the schools were opened. There was no preparation for assessment, for doing assessments. The only priority was just to bring back all the students to schools. But I think that we have to do some sort of assessment in all aspects of the school. So because the assessment will tell us where the students are actually now. So what interventions we can do and how we prioritize our needs, because we cannot do all things at a time. So the assessment will give us an information about the actual knowledge and skills of the students. What is the level of what are the levels of the students now in terms of their academic status? It can be in terms of mental health or their preparedness for learning. So the assessment will give us an information on this. So based on the information, we can talk about the transformative actions of education. As we know, education or specialist schooling we can take it as a system which has many components like leadership and management, the infrastructure, teacher capacity, the learners, the curriculum, the assessments. So there are so many components. So we cannot improve all these things at a time. We have to prioritize, and I think the first one is which is related to student learning, the curriculum. So what type of curriculum should you have for the students who are affected by the war and who are experiencing the learning loss? So the first one we have to do is, I think we have to focus on the fundamental skills, foundational skills, like literacy, numeracy, and science skills. Unless they are good in literacy and numeracy, they will not be able to learn other subjects. So we have to focus on this one. The other one is we have to incorporate the 21st century skills in the learning. In most of the time, we always focus on covering the lessons or the chapters, but we don't think about including the 21st century skills like learning and innovation skills, digital literacy skills, career and life skills are some of the examples. Now, in the new curriculum developed by the government of Ethiopia, I've seen some course like creativity, entrepreneurship, or something like that. But what I think is that these skills are not or should not be given in terms of like a subject. They have to be practiced and they have to start right from. Oh, I think I'm.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so when we are talking about the curriculum, we have to think about also the learning, the 21st century skills, because they are important. These skills are equally important like the academic skills. Okay, the other one is the mental, the well-being of teachers and students, because most of the students are traumatized due to the war and the related conditions, and the same also for the teachers. So we have to implement like trauma-informed professional development, mental health support, professional collaboration for teachers, and flexibility and workload. For students, we have to prepare counseling services, peer support programs, and recreational activities. The other important issue we have to see in transforming the learning situation is to develop teacher professional qualities. So enhance the capacity of teachers in both subject matters, knowledge and teaching methodology is very important. The condition which shows us in the situation, like the capacity of teachers is very poor. Most of the teachers have for example, they are not related or they have not developed technological skills. For example, using technology to teach their students, to enhance to enrich the curriculum. So these are some of the problems that teachers have to improve in order to guide their students. The other one is incorporating technology to enhance learning. So nowadays, students, if they are guided properly, they can learn by themselves. And if teachers have to teach or to include technology into the learning, the teachers have themselves to have the capacity to learn the technology. So technology can assist modernize the teaching learning process. So it facilitates for the use of data to improve decisions. Data is very important in making decisions at all levels. It can be at the school leadership level, or it can be at teachers level. If they have the appropriate data, they can improve their decisions about student learning. The other important point with technology is it reduces teacher load. It's expected that 20 to 30% of the teacher load is mostly related to administrative or out of instructional activity. So if we can introduce technology into the school, some of the activities which can take the teachers out of the instruction can be improved. So this is very important. The other one is to provide interactive and engaging content. If we can teach, or if teachers can use technology, or if they can integrate technology into learning, they can produce interactive and engaging contents. It can help in facilitating personalized learning. It can offer access to resources, and it enables collaboration among teachers and students, among students and students. The other important point is the improve educational leadership. So the educational leadership goes at the region level or at school level. It has.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. We have the 7 minutes mark, and we'll definitely have back and forth questions and answers in the process. We'll limit you to 1 minute to wrap up, and that's what we're going to use with all the panelists. Apologies for interrupting you. So you have 1 minute to wrap it up. Thank you.
Okay, I'm already finishing. Improve the educational leadership qualities at both at the regional office level and at school level. So this is I can finish now. No problem. Can continue.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lissano. Lissano. Thank you for kind of mentioning those points, and it kind of leads us in a good segue to my next question. I think when you spoke widely about some of the solution-based you were solution-based focus on in terms of how we could deal with the current realities. And one thing you mentioned is the use of technology. And I think this is a good time to bring in Dr. Solomon. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Solomon. I think HBS has been doing a great job at doing that, incorporating technology in learning. As Lissano said, the idea of incorporating technology adds capacity for the teachers. It also helps with decision making, and it has various benefits for the students and the teachers. So if you can speak to that in terms of what HBS has been involved in, and also share the progress and measures of the impact of TV-based teaching.
ማሕደርካትም ኣመቐንኻትም ልሜላት ለትግርኛ ትሎም ግዛእኹም ኢለ ተስፋ ይገብር ትምሃሮ ኢኹም ትግርኛ መቸም ስለዚ ኣመቐንኻትን ዳሕና ዲኻትን. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this important issue. I don't know how long you're going to give me. I can talk all day, all night about this. But if you limit it to 7 minutes, I will hold into that. So what has been HBS trying to do? There are 7-8 topics that if I get a chance, I probably would address in terms of access, in terms of maximizing resources, in terms of finding decent, reasonable, quality education, in terms of empowering kids and parents, in terms of supporting teachers and the entire teaching system, in terms of helping the capacity to develop content and good quality education and be able to broadcast with Integra. And then in terms of improving the overall quality of education. So I can talk in these at least areas. I know Dr. Quiros probably have addressed some of the challenges he's facing as a new bureau head, overseeing. It's not an inviable job. An entire school infrastructure teaching in jeopardy and ruined. To build on that is just a monumental task, and that's where initiatives like HBS can become handy. How did it become into being? So if you recall, the last 2 years, particularly immediately after Magala was liberated and the rest of Tigray, most, not all, liberated, some of the school system we were hoping to resume. But it was difficult because everything was unreal. So we scratched it and we came up with the idea, at least to capture the young kids' mind for wanting to divert them from the trauma, give them some diversion from watching all war horror, but inculcate them with some entertainment and some educational element in it. If we can capture them for 3 hours a day, but they find even a 5-minute, 7-minute words type of knowledge that they can we can impart, that would be something. We know there was a lot of limitations. There is, where do we get this education? How do we deliver it? Even if we decide TV, does every household have a TV? Is the generator and the power all the time on? So there are all these challenges. Nevertheless, we decide even if we can reach a couple of 100 kids, it's worth it. So we launched this program. We needed to find content which was available in open sources, primarily Khan Academy, but there are other sources as well. But the most comprehensive and widely used throughout the world, for those who you may not be familiar, Khan Academy has about 300 million users globally. It provides education from kindergarten all the way to college. You can finish high school to college just by going to Khan Academy. So it's immense source, and it's open source. This was in place for more than 10 years. I have used it for my own son. Many parents have used it. You can also get some education for yourself. Since COVID, well, before COVID, there was distance education, remote education. So some states have those resources, but after COVID, it became important. So states have invested in that. I have heard the state of Ontario in Canada has spent $300 million investing in that as a result of COVID to reach out to kids. This is how much expensive to develop content online. But these are all open sources. So we recruited volunteers, so many volunteers. There are so many to name here: Melan, Shawi, Luam, and many others who pulled this together, who were very instrumental. And then we have a team in Kenya, Andom Dawit Chokon, who really work very hard in putting this together. Thousands and thousands of videos we have to review, thousands, to be able to produce to curate, not produce, curate content. So we decided to teach kids and reach out to kids, broadcast it via satellite, reach homes, Monday through Friday. We broadcast 8 a.m. in the morning until 5 p.m. 8 hours a day, 1 day, 1 hour lunch break. Each, we have 30-minute segment. Each 30-minute segment has core subjects, either math, science, reading, English, or related subjects. And each 30 minutes, to bring a video session for a 30-minute, we had to review, download, curate anywhere between 5 to 6 videos to produce a 30-minute video, sometimes 7, 8. So we have produced more than 4,500 videos, and we have to review close to 10,000 of them. This is not easy to pull off. For those who produce the content, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not something Tigray or Ethiopia can produce. And it's a quality education. It doesn't matter whether you are a Ghanaian, a Kenyan, a Philippines, an American, a Canadian, or French. As long as you follow English, you can learn something from this. It's age appropriate. So we didn't wait for anyone. We didn't wait for UNICEF. We didn't wait for USAID. Even though we knocked at the doors, we didn't wait until they give us to go ahead or give us money. Of course, we were not expecting from Addis. So we badgered our friends, our family members to pull up with the money. The only cost we had was just to pay the satellite provider a monthly fee. The rest, free time. Some of us pressured not only our friends, even our kids as well, to produce these. The detail is very long, but finally we made a decision now, a year and 3 months ago now, a year and 4 months ago now. We started the broadcast. And every household which has TV, who follows Tigray TV or Dimso Weyane, because they are on the same orientation, or TMH or others, can follow HBS. And Monday through Friday, we provide education, quality education. It has limitations, of course, because it's passive. Kids are only listening, they are not interactively participating. So it's not a comprehensive education. It's missing a lot because kids need to be supported while delivering that education. We are trying to fill that gap in partnership with Haven and TDRF. But that's going to be just very small. We are also offering to help the Bureau of Education because they cannot reach close to 30 to 50% of kids. The other day, I don't know if he repeated it today, Dr. Kiros was elaborating the challenges he's facing. One of the things he mentioned that we are aware in it before he even stated it, but it just gave it a starking picture. Anywhere between 800,000 to 1 million kids, the Bureau of Education, Tigray Bureau of Education cannot reach, either because they are under the occupation or many of the instructors are completely in ruin and kids have been dispersed. So how can you reach close to 1 million kids? Somebody, can you turn off the mic? Wait on my thing.
Yeah, I think his network may be bad, but I think he's trying to give you the 7-minute mark, Dr. Solomon. So if you could just, I think the network was bad. Yes, if you could just round up in the next, in the next.
Okay, I hope I'm going to come back to this stuff.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, just round up and we'll come back.
Forget 800,000. If we can reach, with this amount of money, if we can reach 100,000 kids, forget 100,000, 50,000, forget 50, 10,000 kids in Kobo, in Humora, in Iro, in Rama, in Badima, in Alamata, Salamti. Isn't it worth the project? This is a noble project that we Tigrayans can pull off, and we should. Another aspect, the Bureau of Education has the authority to oversee the entire curriculum from K to grade 8. The high school curriculum is overseen by, for lack of better term, federal Bidda Arat Kilo government. In that curriculum, in that education, in history or other subjects, the Arat Kilo government can decide what language of a specific material could be. A language, I mean, how did the November 4 war broke out? Arat Kilo can decide TPLF or Tigray started the war. We would have to teach them exactly that way. I hope it wouldn't get to that, but they have the authority to do so. We're not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. At least I would like to give the opportunity for parents to give an alternative education, to teach Tigray history and value systems. We have to have that alternative. We have to have that option. HBS, only HBS or institutions like HBS can deliver that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Solomon. I wish you can all speak for an hour each. It's just to make sure that our audience are able to listen to everyone and give you all the opportunity to communicate what you want to. So thank you, Dr. Solomon. We will try to come back for a wider discussion to kind of make it more of a discussion rather than you guys just presenting. So we'll make it more engaging. If we can go to Dr. Getachew. Thank you, Dr. Getachew, for joining. Professor Getachew, sorry. I apologize for calling everyone a doctor today, but why not? You can all be a doctor for the day. If we go to Professor Getachew, could you, if you can just speak on your experience in the global education sector. So if you can highlight some of the experiences in addressing similar challenges in Tigray, and guide us in drawing lessons on those effectively like incorporation and implementation of these lessons into how we can deal with some of these challenges in Tigray. Thank you, Dr. Getachew. I mean, Professor Getachew, sorry, I apologize again. The sound is a bit low. I don't know if there's a possibility of.
We can't hear you, Professor Getachew. Yeah.
We
It's
can,
very
but it's
low.
very low. Yes. Okay. I don't think so. Okay. Okay, sure. If we can go then while we wait for Professor Getachew, if we can go to Laura. Yes, Laura's here on Right Hewitt's account. Laura, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My question for you is basically just for you to share your experiences and share, when I mean experiences, the kind of experiences you've had in intervention for educating young people in Tigray. So specifically focusing. Oh, sorry, Dr. Laura. I apologize again. So, if you could just share some of your experiences in implementing interventions for educating young people in Tigray, what are the challenges that you faced, and what changes do you feel like are needed?
Definitely. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's just incredibly humbling to hear everybody's incredible work that they've been doing. Can you all hear me? Does that sound okay?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, it's just incredibly humbling to hear everybody's innovation, hard work despite the really challenging circumstances. Our program started in 2012, just in recognition and witnessing of the incredible strength of the young people of Tigray and all the people of Tigray, and wanting to do some small thing to support them. So we've supported over 78 students since 2012, with, of course, a pause during the war. And we've seen people through 8 years of schooling sometimes, and secondary and post-secondary schooling with scholarships. And I think that the keys, I'll try and keep it short just so that we can hear all of the wisdom of the other speakers. But as a relatively small organization that's all volunteer run and just funnels essentially money and funds into the bank accounts of some of the most resource poor young women in the region. We focus on women students. It really has been such a journey in terms of just communication and developing trust with our local partners and maintaining that trust on both sides, showing up for each other. I think none of this works without trust and relationships. And so I think forums like this and then continued deeper conversations are really important for that trust. And then the other thing that we've really tried to focus on, especially in this new context, is just really being extremely deliberate about where we channel our money. And that includes both the actual intervention and also the kinds of data that we collect. I think that there can be a temptation to try and collect a ton of data about the intervention that you're doing. And over time, and this is coming from a public health background, we've collected less and less and really just focused on the pieces of data that will show us is our program actually working? Are people staying in school as a way to reduce the burden on the team who is actually operating in Tigray? So it's just been inspiring to see these young women graduate from, in some cases, law school. Some of them are working as accountants in the local health centers and hospitals. They've been able to do this even after the war. And so we're excited to continue. We just recruited a new class of 15 students. And just recognizing that scholarships are a very, very small part of the overall educational pick of the war. And so we're excited to continue. We just recruited a new class of 15 students. And just recognizing that scholarships are a very, very small part of the overall educational picture. But they can just help some of the people who need it the most, and can be kind of an appropriate, basically everybody has a part to play, I guess is what I want to say. And so we've tried to think about what is our most appropriate role as kind of an intercontinental organization that's not in the thick of all of the education discussions. And we're just so happy to be able to support some students and to be part of this discussion. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for kind of highlighting that trust building is a very big aspect of working with those in the educational sector, and also the beneficiaries, so the children and the teachers. So thank you for mentioning that. If we can go back to Professor Getachew, I don't know if the sound is better now. Can we try? Professor,
Is it better now?
unmute. Yes, perfect. Yes, great.
Okay.
So I don't know if you heard my question to you,
Yes.
or if you want me to repeat it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I have it. Thank you, Melata. I was saying that you should apologize for apologizing about titles and stuff. So just call me Getachew. Yes, a very critical question that what can we learn from other countries, other parts of the world, specifically those post-conflict countries, and how they did it, and learn from the successes, and learn as well from the failed ones. One thing actually, when I was streaming this live, the first comment, repeated actually comment came from our audiences. Why are we calling it post-war? Tigray is still in a way still in a war. Of course, the guns are silent, but everything else, relatively remains the same. So I think it's good to highlight that. That's what the people are saying, and that's the reality on the ground. But going back to the question of post-conflict education, there has been a lot of research done, including a database of 52 countries, around 12 case study countries with detailed studies on how they did it, what was the lesson, and so on. So I want to just focus on that in terms of the conclusion without going into the details. Just leaving the details for the Education Bureau, all stakeholders that are doing this should maybe have a team that looks at these lessons from different countries. So the challenges they identified in this post-conflict situation in terms of education is one, what is TDRF trying to help with, the inability of governments to fund capital and recurrent expenditure related to education. That's the big one. And there is this chronic shortage of qualified teachers. That's another one. Or in some cases, they have teachers, a lot of them actually oversupply, but underqualified ones. So you can imagine post-conflict, and you have underqualified teachers, and on the surface you are just educating the kids, but you are not. The other aspect of all this is poor record keeping. Actually, in one of the discussions over the past couple of years, one thing that this genocide has been doing is erasure of records, so that there is nothing in terms of health records, nothing in terms of education records is maintained. So just erasing everything that was there. So post-conflict, if you have a poor record keeping, that is also a big problem. So this was observed in these countries. Corruption, a big element. We usually tend to see, post-conflict, everybody would feel bad and sad and contribute a lot and do, better. But there is a room for corruption as well. That's why, in my other hat, in terms of media, media should play a big role in terms of not only raising awareness about corruption, but also, identifying the hotspots so that people are aware and accountability there. In terms of accountability, one aspect they identified in this research on post-conflict countries, education recovery, is lack of transparency in educational governance. So this is for Dr. Kiros and his team to make sure that there is transparency in this educational governance. Another element they talk about is how the failure to develop initiatives in terms of skills for young people and prevent them from being recruited to military and criminal activities. We hear a lot about urban crimes increasing in urban centers in Tigray. All this has a lot to do with education opportunities. So that is critical as well. So the overall environment also is part of the research, and they looked at post-conflict education recovery is just not an island. It's if you want to have a long-term and broader impact of these interventions, they say it will depend on the structural factors that maintain the conflict. That's the broader political, social, and economic context. So we have to make sure that there is an understanding of that in terms of building peace, in terms of recovering education, and so on. So this is what I would like to share for now, and then I would be happy to be back in the Q&A and discussion part. Thank you, Melat.
Thank you, Professor Getachew. I think that was very insightful, and we will definitely, I think, try to bring that up in the discussion that proceeds. I would just like to remind first of all, I would like to thank the audience. Thank you guys, the listeners, for everyone tuning in today. It's very important that you're here, and I'm really glad there's a high turnout, because I think it's really vital for us to really understand the core of the issues that we face when it comes to the educational sector, but also some of the solution focused kind of brainstorming sessions that happen. And I think this kind of, a lot of the discussion has been based around solution oriented kind of points being made by the panelists. So, and I think that's amazing. And in order for these things to be implemented, I think we have to support organizations such as TDRF. So what I will do next is give you guys an opportunity to, I think we had the link above. Yes, we do have the donor box link above. If you guys could just please click on the donor box and see where your money would go, what $25 would do, what $125 would buy. And see how this is a long-term investment for these children. And investing in the younger generation, as we all know, is also an investment within, for the region, for the society as a whole. So please consider that. Just look into what your money can do, what that $25 can do for one child. So please click and donate as we go along. Thank you all. And I think we will go into kind of informalizing the discussion and kind of going to some of the questions based on what you guys have said. And I would like to go to Dr. Solomon first, just to speak about the HBS educational programs and the virtual education that you guys have been running. I just wanted to touch on, in terms of that being a very technology based and very new way of addressing this challenge, which it has impacted a lot of children. How do you feel like this can be incorporated, or how can this deal with some of the educational shortcomings in the rural areas where technology hasn't really taken hold yet, or the access is maybe less than the cities? Dr. Solomon.
Sure. Thank you, Melat. What does $25 can do? It can teach 8 kids for the entire year, $3 per kid, and you still have $1 extra if they were going to follow and their only source is, or even a supplementary TV education like HBS, $3 per kid per year. Okay, to your question. I think over the last 15 years, TV has become one of the both a household asset, but also a source of both entertainment and information that many rural communities are buying into. So you will find, and Dr. Kiros can elaborate on this one better, you will find a very remote village where a decent farmer would have a TV set, and they use satellite dishes, not cable, to receive this information, or to receive a signal from the satellite. And definitely small towns have quite a number of TVs, even after they were looted during the last 2-3 years of genocidal war. People still have TV, and that's one of the first things they replace, of course, after food and health. As soon as peace was back, one of the hot commodities people are buying is TV and satellite dish. I had just yesterday someone from deep in Gujarat send us their experience installing a TV and a TV dish and how they badly want HBS. So it's very, very interesting. So remote education, TV education is not a comprehensive and a complete education delivery system. It's part of a larger education system. It's relevant, it's important, it's a handy tool, never mind for Tigray that has every infrastructure ruined. Even we have seen how it's important during COVID in the United States, Europe, Canada, and elsewhere. It's important even as you resume normal education delivery at the classroom in physical situation, because it provides complementarity. It provides new material. It provides material that is not available within limited resources or within Tigray or within that region. And as you know, kids are now becoming very global, not only on the core subjects, on STEM, but on many other issues, particularly related to information technology, global issues on climate and other stuff. So you can be exposed to those things while you are in Mbasneti, Adgudem, or Humara to challenge the entire humanity in the entire globe is facing, which our kids need to be prepared. So it frees them, it opens their horizon, and they see themselves as a member of the big human race. And the kid would inspire. I don't know if you were following lately a kid from deep in Boraslawa, I think, if I'm correct, someone can correct me, who recently produced a handset cell phone, a megaphone, an amplifier, and other tools and devices. How did this kid do? By watching TV and other stuff. That's it. So creative. His mind, when he was talking, he cannot stop. While he was doing the interview, he's creating ideas. Ideas are coming in his mind. So these are the kids we want to inspire. And for $3 a child per year, this is something we can pull off. Of course, there are big foundations and initiatives that we want to use their resources so that we don't want to exhaust our own community. But we will not wait for that. So yes, remote education is very important until the infrastructure is built, until the teachers are back, until new teachers are hired. If I'm correct, Dr. Kiros was mentioning the other day, he had already 14,000 teachers missing or in need, and he needs total 30,000 new teachers. That's not going to come. That's not going to be realized in 6 months. I don't think it would be even possible in a couple of years. That's going to take time. The textbooks are not there. The school systems are not there. A friend of mine who is traveling in Shararo just the other day sent me pictures from Shararo, from Adidaro, from Adnan Reed. I mean, and kids are going to the school. If I could share you the pictures, I would be happy to, even though it's a sad picture. How could you complement that? The only way is through remote education. Yes, of course, we would need computer centers in every school to deliver content offline and for kids to be interactive, but that will take time. Building IT centers in each big town and then medium and small and villages, it's going to take years. We have learned from the war with Shabia, which was about 10 years ago, that devastated the border towns, particularly Zalambeza. We had all the resources, including $1.5 billion to rebuild Tigray from World Bank. I was part of it, I was there. But to rebuild Zalambeza, it took more than a couple of years. Just Zalambeza. Now the entire Tigray is in ruins. So we would have to use resources like HBS to be effective and to deliver a modest form of education.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon. I think that was a very comprehensive answer. It really addresses the question in terms of when the technology comes in handy, specifically now when there is a lack of viable physical sense of education due to the war, has been very challenged. And also the technology in terms of the usage of it in education has actually been able to open up the horizons of these children who, I think that's a very important statement you made about allowing these children to feel like they're part of a bigger, wider educational kind of world where there are also other children who are using the same resources as them, and they do not have to feel like they are constrained within a box, or they are able to explore whatever they want. And having that realization through technology in itself is very innovative. So that's very commendable. Thank you, Dr. Solomon. If we can, I think I wanted to kind of go round again, but in terms of our time, I just want to be very aware and cautious to make sure we are engaging everyone who's listening today. If you do have a question, if you could please request mic. And if you do not want to specifically come up and ask questions, you can also DM a directly message Goitom or TDRF's Twitter account, and also mine. Preferably theirs will be great. And if we can just go to until those requests are being made, if I can go to Dr. Kiros. And the question I would kind of come back on, Dr. Kiros, based on what you said earlier, was that there was an issue in terms of resource mobilization and allocation when, and some of this was because of it was difficult to kind of communicate the severity of the challenges faced. So can you speak more on that and elaborate more on that? and see what the hurdles you face in terms of that were, and also what is being done to kind of get past those hurdles.
Yeah, thank you so much. As I guess we have been discussing also on the other day that the main challenges that we are facing with the resource mobilization. So to get just resource mobilized, communication is so important, and you need to have to communicate clearly. For that, what we did in the last maybe 6 months, 7 months is we assessed all our schools, and we submitted all the damage, loss as a result of the genocidal war on Tigray. So we assessed all the schools, and we calculated all the replacement costs too. So we submitted it to the Tigray Genocide Inquiry Commission, which has to be released officially with some templates and standards of the World Bank, and we are waiting for its official release. In the meantime, you know, the the initiatives that I mentioned earlier, the 6 points or the 6 priority points, the improvement of the school infrastructure, that is the reconstruction, maintenance, and the rehabilitation, on the teachers' development, on the technology aspects, on the curriculum development, all need just a huge amount of money. For that, we have to start just to put a strategy forward on getting finance for this. The money is massive, so we need support from the World Bank and others as a recovery, but that will be just a support, and the main resource is our people so far. Therefore, we are thinking to organize resource mobilization forums and events so that everybody will know the extent of damage and the way forward on how we recover and reconstruct our education system. Thank you.
Great. This is just another follow-up question. If you could just give it maybe 2 minutes, Dr. Kiros. This was a follow-up question that came through my message. In terms of the involvement of the federal government in assisting you in reconstruction of infrastructure, like in terms of curriculum, and generally assisting the Bureau as a whole, has that been effective? Has it been done? Has it been effective? And are you expecting any support?
Well, as when you consider the legislation and the Pretoria Agreement, as per the Constitution, the federal government has a mandate on the support on the recovery and reconstruction of the education system, and of course other sectors too. And as a Pretoria Agreement, the Pretoria Agreement has 11 objectives. Among them, the recovery and reconstruction is one. So let it be as per the Pretoria Peace Agreement and as a Constitution. The federal government has a mandate to have a recovery and reconstruction plan and to support the recovery and reconstruction efforts of the regional government and the people. But so far, we didn't get support from the Ministry of Education. The support that we get so far is from the World Bank. The World Bank has General Education Improvement Program. We call it JEKIP. So through the JEKIP, we get some supports, and the World Bank has set some early recovery programs, and from that early recovery program we get some support. That one is also from the World Bank. Out of this, the European Union is going to just to do maintenance of some of the primary schools. The Japan government is going to do maintenance for some schools. These are just external support that we get through the federal government, but you know, external funds. And the World Bank has also another source of funding. There are 300 million USD to support they say conflict affected areas to Tigray, Afar, Amhara, and Benshangul. And through that, there are some funds coming to Tigray. All these funds are external funds, whether through World Bank or the other just countries that want to support that. But the federal government didn't allocate a budget to provide special support to come out from this crisis.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kiros, for elaborating on that. Right now, I think we're going to take a minute or two just to give you guys a chance to, again, go on the link above, the donor box above. As I mentioned, what $25 can do, what $50 can do, $100 and $125 can do. They can do, you know, this is a long-term investment. I keep saying long-term because a desk can really assist hundreds and hundreds of children. One desk, a blackboard can do a whole classroom, many classrooms full of children that could be assisted via the donation of a blackboard, the donation of $100. So if you guys, we were going to play some music for a minute or two.
For Mela, for that, just to assess your point, for example, one blackboard can serve 100 students per day because we are using 2 shifts. And one combined desk will serve 6 students per day because one combined desk is used by 3 students. So in 2 shifts, it will be serving for 6 students. So you can imagine what long time investment it is. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kiros. Yes, you as you heard just now, your money would go a very, very long way. And I understand that a lot of us, you know, we are very invested in the education of our children. And I think the education of the children of Tigray is fundamentally investing in the future of Tigray. So please click on the link above, on the donor box above, while we take a 2-minute break, so that it gives you guys the chance to not miss the discussion, but be able to go ahead, follow the link and donate. If we can take a minute or two just to do that, that would be great.
Thank you, Melat. Maybe I'll just do a brief recap of our call of this space. أنا زلهم لهم عنتي كلهم زلهم أبي مسجانا يفتحهم وسخي أبي يميدي مديان زي مدرخت كتاغلون كلهم نمسجن زوا فري rebuilding dreams بزبل سيمنا بتدي عرفنا كايد زلنا بتقرأي زلو ناي تمرت سرعات داق مهنسات نمحقاز زاكل كل سب بزخالو نكساتف مسوعتها نقبر ليو أو زلهم عنت بزبانة المسانا عبيتي أو عودي بزح سرع سرعوز نتفو سوات حبريتاتاتي هنا لو مسوا تحيزنا إذن نبزا تويتر سبيس بينجرنا ينزلنا ناي دونيشن لينك مس نايتا كامبين مسوعتها شير بمقبار بغندو كلهم ناو بزح سوك بازح كتحجزنا نصور بتوسخون آتيهم نافت دونر بوكس لينك زغالكم هو حجز كل وقت تقولون نشتري زبال حجز يلن توفري أو زي نوفمبر جيفينج نوفمبر بزبلنا كايدو زلنا سلزغنا توسنا معلتات وسيتنا هناك نسخة عقنا عقتن للي أبزي هذا حازلاتنا كلنا نربارب لا مالتي ميلات زحبرتن تنزلوا أنا باكيجاتنا حجز زكال كل ما تنز حق محجز زكال خوينو بتوسعجن ناي $25 باكيجنا نحمشت تمارو ناي بمهاري حجز قرب كنا مالو نخليو ناي $50 باكيج نعسرت ممهران بتمساسالي نمهار مستمهار زد اليوم ናውቲ ንምምላእ ዝሕግዘና እዩ ብ$100 ሓንቲ 2.4 ብ1.2 ሜትር ዝዓቐና ብላክቦርድ ኣብ ሓንቲ ክላስ ምቕማጥ ይከኣል በዚኣ ከዓ ከምቲ ሕዚ ዶክተር ኪሮስ ተወሳኺ ሓበሬታ ዝሃበና ን100 ተምሃሮ ብመዓልቲ ክመሃሩላ ይኽእሉ ማለት እዩ በታ $125 ዘላ ፓኬጅ ተምሃሮ ኮፍ ኢሎም ክመሃሩ ዝኽእሉ 3 ተምሃሮ ኮፍ ዘብል ወንበር ክነስርሕ ንኽእል እዚ ድማ ብመዓልቲ ብ2 ሽፍቲ ስለ ነምህር 6 ተምሃሮ ከተኣናግድ ይኽእል ብመዓልቲ ማለት እዩ ስለዚ ብከምዚ መጠን ዘለዎ ሓገዝ ልዑል ዝኾነ ዘላቒ ፍታሕ ንምምፃእ ዝሕግዝ ኣበርክቶ ክህልወና እዩ ስለዚ በዘን ዝተረፋ ተወሰና ሒደት ረቓይቕ ናፍታ ዶነር ቦክስ ሊንክ ተኣትዩ ነዚ ወፍሪ እዚ ሼር ክትገብርዎ ፃውዒት ንገብር 1-2 ደቂቓ ዝኸውን ሙዚቃ እና ናይዚ ወፍሪ መፀዋዕታ ከስማዐኩም እየ
In the heart of Tigray, a region that's faced unimaginable challenges, the light of hope still shines. This Giving Tuesday, join us as we help children of Tigray rekindle their journey of growth to secure a brighter future. For the children of Tigray, education is a dream worth fighting for. Despite the turmoil, teachers tirelessly work to ensure every child has a chance to learn. This Giving Tuesday, the Tigray Disaster Relief Fund will be raising funds to support children's education in Tigray. Your support will help provide essential learning resources and equip students with the tools they need to succeed. Together, we can make education a reality for Tigray's children. Every donation brings hope and light where it's needed most. Join us this Giving Tuesday in supporting the Tigray Disaster Relief Fund's campaign to inspire a generation by sending healing and hope. Together, we can build a brighter future for Tigray. Give the gift of education, give the gift of hope, give today.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሳምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍነት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋሕዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትግራይ ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍነት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋሕዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋሕዲ ንግበር ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ፅባሕ ትግራይ ንቀጥዕ ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍነት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ أبزي سناي تبقسو جامكم كتبركتو نصوع بهجن حلمن هزانات تجراي جهري زخون بتمرتئيو ممهران تجراي زبصحة عنوتن طفعتن تزاويرهم كيدي تمرتي ناو نورن مملاس يزعروا علو بزي وفري تيدي عرف عودي تمرتي تجراي بمحواي هزانات تجراي نمحجز حجز كتأخخ إيو حجزكم ناوتي تمرتين مملا ممهاري مسارحين معداقن نتمهارو زدلو يتفلالو مسارحي تمرتين مقرابن كوعليو بحوار بهجي تمرتي هزانات تجراي جهدي نجبر أبزي وفري بمستتاف المزاي ولا روز تأكم دقاف نجبر نتسفان حويتن نسرح لومي وهبتو تمرتي بمحاو تسفان عيزوح تجراي نتتر دحري كبيد حسامن مكران أب تجراي أفافنو التصفى يرأى له أبناي لومي عامت وفري جيفينج توسداي هزانات تجراي بروح مزعين خهلوم زخل سراحتي داقمه هنسات المكياد حجز كانت تأخخبئينا عمو أبزي سناي تبقسو جامكم كتبركتو نصوع بهجن حلمن هزانات تجراي جهري زخون تمرتئيو ممهران تجراي زبصحة عنوتن طفعتن تزاويرهم كيدي تمرتي ناو نورن مملاس يزعروا علو بزي وفري تيدي عرف عودي تمرتي تجراي بمحواي هزانات تجراي نمحجز حجز كتأخخ إيو حجزكم ناوتي تمرتين مملا ممهاري مسارحين معداقن نتمهارو زدلو يتفلالو مسارحي تمرتين مقرابن كوعليو بحوار بهجي تمرتي هزانات تجراي جهدي نجبر أبزي وفري بمستتاف المزاي ولا روز تأكم دقاف نجبر نتسفان حويتن نسرح لومي وهبتو تمرتي بمحاو تسفان عيزوح تجراي نتتر دحري كبيد حسامن مكران أب تجراي أفافنو التصفى يرأى له أبناي لومي عامت وفري جيفينج توسداي هزانات تجراي بروح مزعين خهلوم زخل سراحتي داقمه هنسات المكياد حجز كانت تأخخبئينا عمو أبزي سناي تبقسو جامكم كتبركتو نصوع بهجن حلمن هزانات تجراي جهري زخون بتمرتئيو ممهران تجراي زبصحة عنوتن طفعتن تزاويرهم كيدي تمرتي ناو نورن مملاس يزعروا علو بزي وفري تيدي عرف عودي تمرتي تجراي بمحواي هزانات تجراي نمحجز حجز كتأخخ إيو حجزكم ناوتي تمرتين مملا ممهاري مسارحين معداقن نتمهارو زدلو يتفلالو مسارحي تمرتين مقرابن كوعليو بحوار بهجي تمرتي هزانات تجراي جهدي نجبر أبزي وفري بمستتاف المزاي ولا روز تأكم دقاف نجبر نتسفان حويتن نسرح لومي وهبتو تمرتي بمحاو تسفان عيزوح تجراي نتتر
in terms of you guys being very aware and
دحري كبيد حسامن مكران أب تجراي أفافنو التصفى يرأى له أبناي لومي عامت وفري جيفينج توسداي هزانات تجراي بروح مزعين خهلوم زخل سراحتي داقمه هنسات المكياد حجز كانت تأخخبئينا عمو أبزي سناي تبقسو جامكم كتبركتو نصوع بهجن حلمن هزانات تجراي جهري زخون بتمرتئيو ممهران تجراي زبصحة عنوتن طفعتن تزاويرهم كيدي تمرتي ناو نورن مملاس يزعروا علو بزي وفري تيدي عرف عودي تمرتي تجراي بمحواي هزانات تجراي نمحجز حجز كتأخخ إيو حجزكم ناوتي تمرتين مملا ممهاري مسارحين معداقن نتمهارو زدلو يتفلالو مسارحي تمرتين مقرابن كوعليو بحوار بهجي تمرتي هزانات تجراي جهدي نجبر أبزي وفري بمستتاف المزاي ولا روز تأكم دقاف نجبر نتسفان حويتن نسرح لومي وهبتو تمرتي بمحاو تسفان عيزوح تجراي نتتر دحري كبيد حسامن مكران أب تجراي أفافنو التصفى يرأى له أبناي لومي عامت وفري جيفينج توسداي ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
Just like practically it might not have been possible for them to go to school and continue their education otherwise. And in addition to that, it's very funny. It isn't the fact that there was an organization that felt that they were important enough to be invested in.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
Worked with each other. So, for example, in terms of Ra'ay Hiwat, Having Tigray has inherited this similar program is focusing on women, specifically rural women. It's two-pronged.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
Samra and Aksum and other places within Tigray, we have done recruitment past month to try to integrate the program. So that's one way. And we do know, especially there are pressures, external especially,
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
We hope to have these labs in numerous qabalis, numerous schools, both as supplementary and complementary for formal education in Tigray is for people like us, for students like us, and teachers and trainers. So it's kind of this feedback.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር ንተስፋን ሕወይትን ንስራሕ ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ
Thank you, Romina. Thank you, Dr. Laura. I think that was it's not just about targeting society, but also specifically making
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር ንተስፋን ሕወይትን ንስራሕ ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ
students have incurred due to war. How do we
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር ንተስፋን ሕወይትን ንስራሕ ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ
You can try to unmute now, so maybe let's see. Sanu, can you unmute now?
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንፅውዕ ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር ንተስፋን ሕወይትን ንስራሕ ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ
no matter how profoundly take one piece at a time and get through it. I have been working Sudan and I'm still
ድሕሪ
gonna stick
ከቢድ
it out in
ሕሰምን
Sudan.
መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ
Hopefully,
ኣፋፍኖት
but
ተስፋ
I'm
ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ።
Maybe one village at a time. I have done a village in Ethiopia for about 20 years. Mostly based around the school. But I would love to join up and continue with this
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ።
So the question was about developing teaching methods and building
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ።
You hadn't unmuted.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንክህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ነጠጥዕ።
And one thing that I think I'm not sure if but the idea of the Tigray.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
To do better and so on with what they have accomplished at the high school level in terms of the result. And I know they did their best to supporting these students.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
Using the infrastructure we have in these colleges and universities, using the content we have abroad, like Dr. Solomon was mentioning. So a platform where we can maximize all these.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
I also commend Dr. Kiros and everyone in his team for providing the data that's out there that was damaged. In addition to the technical data,
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ዝኸውን ትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይፅዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ገሃዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ። ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይጽዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
125 can buy a desk, 100 can buy a blackboard.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይጽዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ። ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይጽዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
It could be system. In the last 3 years, war.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ።
So I think they will continue to be an important support system and safety net for a number of children. One of the areas, for instance, that we plan to launch one of the programs is in the Bosco Technical in Adwa, which is a Catholic-run parochial school, but not necessarily a religious school. It's not. It's more of academic technical school, and they have been providing shelter and all care for IDPs for several hundred at least. That's one area, for instance, we want to partner with, and there will be more throughout Tigray. So, if you look at alternative education systems throughout the world, kids have used homeschooling, charter schools, parochial schools, public schools, private schools, all these stuff. If you had like a magic wand and you would know where a kid would be most successful, you would pick one. But there is no perfect system generally looking into whether this is better than the other. So what we need to do is to provide all kind of alternatives where kids can be successful. So in Integrai's context, next to the public school system, I think next are the private run. So they would be key in supporting the education system as well. Next would be the faith-based or religious organizations, which have different centers, primarily Catholic schools, but I think there are others, Muslim, Orthodox as well, who support these kind of programs. So I think they will fill a gap. They may not be the largest one, but still they fill critical gap where we see where they have presence for a quite number of years, but the need would be much more in the current situation.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. If we can, I have one last question, and feel free for any one of the panelists to take this question, but we are rounding up. So, this will be the very last question, but we thought it was very important. If we can just, regarding the inclusivity, if we can just touch on this very quickly, it could just be a minute. Regarding the inclusivity of those who are currently, I mean, due to the war or even before the war, have faced major injuries, and therefore may not have the same level of access to facilities or the certain educational sector resources as before. How can we fill the gap for them? So those who kind of categorize themselves or have been categorized as having a disability, how can we be more inclusive of them? Is there any supplementary resources that have been provided for them? And do you think that there should be a general focus, specifically post-conflict, a specific focus on this demographic? If we can, this is an open question, so any one of you can try to address this.
I can go in.
Yes, go on, Dr. Solomon.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, nice to see many of you here. TG earlier spoke, and Lissano I should recognize, and others as well. I just want to say hello, a shout out. Under peace times, you will have a number of segments of the population, communities, who for one or another may not be able to attend school physically or part of a structured program for a number of reasons. After a war like this, that number is going to be multiple fold. Physical disability, mental disability, the very fact of access to the physical facility itself or remoteness from the area where that's available, economic, social, many issues. We know many of the kids who join TDF may not come back to join school. Remote education, IT centers, TV education, alternative education delivery are very important in supporting education delivery. Imagine a young girl in a remote area where she's the only supporter in a family who have lost 2-3 family members. The likelihood of a girl, and often, as you know, the girls are the ones who most of the challenges and constraints are stacked against them. So a young girl, 12, 13, 14-year young girl who have lost her brother, older brother, to the war, or her parent, is going to be the sole support in that household. And the first thing that she's going to cut is going to school. If we have a mechanism to deliver education, remote education, TV, radio, or downloaded material that we can hand her off, that in her spare time, if she could get one, that she can browse and get something out of it, be inspired, and at some point decide to go back to school or study at home. The very possibility kids who suffer through war trauma, other depression, violence, but they can find healing, self-care through such education system. Keep in mind, we have a community that doesn't formally recognize mental health issues. Very challenging other than urban centers to have support for this. The very fact that there is someone across the world that recognizes it is okay. After war, after trauma, after sexual violence, that you feel angry, that you feel depressed, that you feel sad. You didn't do anything wrong. You are justified to feel this. But also, if you do A, B, C, and take care of yourself, everything will be okay. It may take time, but you're going to heal. To get that kind of message, to be able to connect with someone else who have gone through this. They don't have to be famous like Malala, but there is a kid somewhere around the corner who can connect to that kid who's feeling lonely. That's what globalization does. That's what digital education does. Can you put value on it? Can you put money on it? This is so profoundly important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon. Dr. Kiros, we had a couple of questions for you. I will ask maybe one of the questions in regards to IDPs. We understand that a lot of the school facilities had been occupied with IDPs from Western Tigray, from Eastern Tigray, from all over Tigray, who had been displaced as a result of the war. In terms of these IDPs, and what is there any specialist kind of formatting of addressing their challenges, and also how does this affect the sector as a whole, having so many children displaced and unable to have stable homes and stable kind of environments for them to participate in education, and even in terms of economical stability. How can we how has the Bureau kind of dealt with this, and how are you dealing with this as well going forward as well? Dr. Kiros, can you hear me?
Oh yeah. Hello, you hear me now?
Yes, you were just muted.
Okay, thank you so much. So as I mentioned earlier, there are in Tigray, all over Tigray, there are 2,492 schools. Out of the 2,490 schools. Out of those 2,492 schools, 552 or nearly 22% are still under occupation. There are 220 schools in Western Tigray occupied by the Amhara Raktak forces, and there are 90 schools in northwestern Tigray. 75 of them are occupied by Amhara forces, and 15 schools are occupied by Eritrean army. In central Tigray, there are 12 schools occupied by Eritrean army. In eastern Tigray, in parts of Glomakhada and Zalambasa, Europe, there are 46 schools occupied still by the Eritrean army. And in southern Tigray, in Ofla, Zata, Raya Lamata, and Korem, there are 108 schools. Total, there are 552 schools still occupied by the invading forces. So more than 800,000 children, which should have been continue pursuing their education in the schools, are denied their right, their access to education. But not only the access to education, they are at the receiving end of all kinds of atrocities. And the people who displaced from those areas, from Western Tigray, Northwestern Tigray, Central and Eastern and this Southern Tigray, they occupy more than 110 schools. They use as a shelter. They displaced from those areas that I mentioned, and they shelter in 110 schools. For example, in Shararo, we have 7 schools, and all schools occupied by IDPs. In Shira, we have 18 schools, all occupied by IDP. In Aksum, Adwa, Awi, Adi, Adigrat, Maqala, Machau, and in many other towns, the schools are occupied by IDPs. And in these areas, there should have been more than 200,000 children who should pursue their education in this 110. So in total, because of the occupation by invading forces, and because they are used as a shelter for IDPs, in total more than 1 million children are not attending their classes. And regarding the IDP children, we are trying our level best so that this children to pursue their education in the schools where the hosting community are used. But because of the IDPs, the schools are occupied by IDPs, even the hosting community are not also getting proper schooling in these towns. And the same is true also for this IDP. Furthermore, the IDPs, they are not getting aid, and you can imagine how difficult it is. Just a child without having a breakfast to attend a school. So we are in a serious
Dr. Kiros, I think your sound has been interrupted. You can hear
Hello,
me?
now you hear me?
Yes, if you could just go back maybe 20 seconds and repeat what you said.
Yeah, the IDP children are not going to school mainly because there are no schools in the towns, because the schools are occupied by IDP is one reason. A second is we are trying to have a shelter, temporary classrooms, support the hosting community to go to school, but the IDP children are not getting aid, food aid, so that they get difficulty to go to school to attend their education. And the shortage of the scholastic materials are also hindering them not to go to school. So yes, we are trying just the host community and the IDP children to go to school, but still with the main challenge that I mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kiros. While you're there, we had a number of questions that were here for you, but you weren't. I think there was a network issue, so you weren't here. So I didn't.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I was disconnected for more than 10 minutes because of the blackout.
Yeah, no, I could completely understand.
Yeah.
So another question that had come for you is in terms of the role of the private sector. So what is the role of the private sector in this, in assisting in the educational sector and some of the challenges faced, and what opportunities are there to invest in education? So kind of tying in both the investment aspect and also what you believe the role of the private sector in itself to be.
Yeah, thank you so much. In Tigray, for example, we have 271 secondary schools
Among them, only 18 schools are owned by private owners. So the investment in education is lagging behind. But we are trying our level best to introduce new initiatives so that to encourage the private sector to invest in education, especially in the cities, for example, in Mekelle, the big cities, big towns, Mekelle, Adigrat, Aksum, Shire, Abiy Adi, and others, Macho. We need to encourage those investors to invest on education. So, we are entirely damaged, and to come out of this damage, government schools cannot just come out from the crisis. So we need to encourage, as a government, we need to encourage the private investment in education, and and other stakeholders also. The private sector should also support the education system. So supporting the education system is supporting all over the recovery and reconstruction of Tigray as Tigray as a community. For example, we need the health sector to be recovered. We need the agriculture to be recovered. We need the justice system, the municipal city services should be recovered. But for that recovery, the human resource is a critical aspect. As I mentioned earlier, more than 14,000 teachers are unaccounted in Tigray. The same is also true for the health sector, the health workers. The same is also true for the lawyers. The same is also true for the engineers. The same is also true for the agricultural experts. Therefore, we need Tigray to recover out of this crisis. We need to reconstruct Tigray. So for this recovery and reconstruction, the human resource is a critical aspect. Therefore, all private sectors should support us in the education so that we can produce the human resource that can also serve them as a part of the community. So in terms of support and in terms of investment, the private sector should participate immensely. And as a government, we are ready to support all this. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Kiros. If maybe we can start off with Rowena, and we can give you guys just 60 seconds, a minute or 90 seconds at the most to give your closing remarks. And then we'll have a representative of someone from TDRF who will come and say a couple of things about what TDRF has been doing, and also to kind of tie in the donations as well. So if we can start off with Rowena.
Got you. Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for showing up, and also for TDRF for organizing this. So Haven Tigray initially started because we saw all the kind of issues that were propping up, especially in Sudan and the Tanadwa camp, which one of those issues is, of course, psychological trauma, the need to migrate, depression, and other forms of hopelessness. So our education program sort of started to give them hope, and then B, reskill them at the same time. When Tigray develops, we need the human resources, we need a skilled group of people in our society to push us forward. And we believed in leapfrogging. To leapfrog, we have to learn or see what the global world, where everybody else is at. That's why we provide not just the run-of-the-mill formal education, but we provide vocational education. We provide coding and web development and these things. And if you go on our website, which is haventigray.org, you could see a report of the success rate. You would be surprised by how amazing and how effective the students in Sudan were. Imagine, as refugees, that they were able to hone in the skills. Some honestly developed very amazing apps. Like I think I saw one where it was periodic table, one for like where they developed a calculator, and there are many projects like that. I think you can have a look on our website, and we're trying to basically take this to Tigray, take it to, you know, as a supplement to all the other education, which is, let's say, a couple of high schools could have them, Kabbalists could have these computer labs, and at the same time we're also trying to work with other folks just like HBS, where we want to televise some of the content, select some content that gears towards not just vocation, but also psychological support, connected with history and other things, so they can watch as well. So we're trying to basically take education, open source education. They don't have to rely on internet access, because sadly, a lot of our community does not have that access to the internet, to 4G and so on. So this way, if we have all these labs in different Kabbalists and different waradas, they could easily go to them as a resource and learn whatever they want. Like I said, we have almost even more than 3 terabytes of information, of knowledge, you know, from Free Code Camp, Khan Academy, all these places in our repository, and we're trying to basically take it all over Tigray. So you know, thank you everybody, including TDRF, for their support, and you can learn more about us by going into our website, which is habentigray.org. We also have Instagram, and of course Twitter as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rowena. Thank you, Haben Tigray. If we can go to Professor Getachew for his closing remarks from UMD Media.
Thank you again. I think it's heartwarming to hear everybody's contribution, aspiration, and so on. So I just want to emphasize that there is a lot of potential, energy, willingness, and resources. I'm sure if we can showcase a bit with our community resources, there will be a lot to expect as well from the external donors and so on. So the Bureau of Education, the number of NGOs, civil society organizations, media, of course, have a critical role to play. So again, I want to borrow the leapfrogging concept. We should see that the news has a lot to offer. Girls, of course, have a lot to offer in terms of new ideas, new way of doing things, and leapfrogging to the next level. And I want to commend again TDRF as usual for taking this initiative and doing it excellently, doing it professionally. And there is a lot to learn from organizations like TDRF on how to do things. And so I hope there is a lot of learning happening between intra and inter organizations in Tigray that we can't afford not to use. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Getachew. If we can go to Dr. Kiros for his closing remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, in this evening, I learned a lot about the activities of many organizations, and I learned many of the initiatives from Lissano, a transformative approach, and from Dr. Solomon and the HPS broadcast that they are supporting the education system just in the last 2-3 years, I can say. And from Haben Tigray, I know there are activities in Sudan, and it's a nice initiative just to digital learning that doesn't really need internet connectivity. And many of the important issues that has been discussed in this platform were so inspiring. And let's keep in touch. Let's keep engaging so that to instill some hopes in the minds and hearts of Tigray children. As Education Bureau, we'd have many challenges in terms of the resource mobilization strategies and the communication strategies, as I mentioned earlier, to the board of this TDRF, and I hope you will continue supporting us on this issue so that to reach wider community and to reach wider support. Every one of us can be just a voice, not only supporting financially, not only supporting technically. For example, the Professor Getachew was just giving us important information on how just more than 50 countries come out from such crisis. Such technical experts are also so important, and the financial support are so important, and being a voice are so important. So we will provide you with details of data, the progress on this education recovery and reconstruction, and using this data that can be used for further voicing also. So let's put and create a synergy on advocacy, on mobilizing funds and or technical expertise. I thank you so much, and it was just a learning lesson for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kiros. Thank you for being here. If we can go to, I think, Dr. Solomon for your closing remarks.
Thank you, Melat. Thank you, Goitom. Thank you, TDRF, for hosting this, for inviting us. You can visit for more information, and I really, really implore that you do. HBS Tigray with .com, TIGRAI, HBStigray.com. And
Hello?
then the pages. Yes, can you hear us, Dr. Kiros?
Hello?
Please continue.
Yes, Dr. Kiros, Dr. Solomon was just making his closing remarks.
Okay. I was not listening.
So you can support support education system in any way you can. The Bureau of Education, others, TDRF, many partners that we can support. And with HBS, you can support in at least 4 ways. And I really encourage you to do so. Number one, by volunteering your time. There are a number of things that you can do with identifying, sourcing, curating.
Sorry, Dr. Solomon. Goitom, can you mute? Goitom. Sorry, Dr. Solomon. Go ahead.
That's okay. Volunteer your time in the content side of it on remote education. So you can do a lot. Please, please, please volunteer and reach out to us. Second, if you are into developing content, whether it's core science, whether it's something, a story, or something like inspiring, like Sesame Street or George the Monkey, if that's something you had in your to-do list or bucket list, please do. And then our platform is open to that idea, and we would be happy to have you broadcast your content as long as it's a good quality, relevant to Tigray, and good for our kids. Please join our board. There are a number of teams, including the board, that you can volunteer and you can join, and you can contribute towards, including grant writing teams and others as well, as we look for institutional support. And 4, of course, donate and support HBS to continue to thrive. We are building an institution. This is for the long haul. This is not something seasonal. And this is going to be a big institutional system in the Tigray education and media platform. It's an independent public media, independent public media. I would like to emphasize that in the model of PBS, all that. So please be part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon, and thank you, HBS, for all that you do. We do have Simrat, who is Executive Director of TDRF. Simrat, I'll give the mic to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Mel. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Melat, for doing this for us and your continued support. Thanks to everyone who is still on this panel and the call. I know we took longer than expected, but I think it was very important to listen to everyone's insights and experiences. Thank you, our panelists, for sharing your insights. I think, as Rowena mentioned in the beginning, we are all aware of the immense challenges that we have, but it's very crucial to acknowledge the issues and actually put a number to the issues we hear, because it's alarming. 2 point something million children out of school is very worrying. Like, as much as we speak about this genocide and the impacts, when the numbers are actually attached to it, I think it brings the urgency of our support to the children of Tigray and the magnitude of the problem we have. A special shout out to Dr. Laura and the Raihiwa team for their recent generous donation of $44,000 to TDRF. This contribution has enabled us to partner with Hub in Tigray. I think Rowena mentioned some of the work that we did with this donation. And we just wanted to say thank you to the Raihiwa team for allowing us to be more creative and find a sustainable initiative beyond providing basic aid. We would also to thank Professor Getachew Assefa and UMD Media for streaming this discussion live and for the continued support. He is one of our biggest supporters, so thank you so much. Yes, I think that's all for now. We are very excited to continue our collaborations with Hub in Tigray, HBS, and the Bureau of Education in the coming year. We thank you all for your commitment and support, and please don't forget to donate to the Giving Tuesday donations. As Mel mentioned earlier, we have people who are willing to match your donations. So whatever you're donating, please think that somebody's matching it and it's double the amount. Yeah, so thank you so much. Over, Mel.
Thank you, Simrat. Thank you for Team TDRF, Goitom, everyone who was behind this space also for making sure it went very smoothly, and also for all our panelists. I mean, it would be great to have you guys here and speak for hours and hours, but unfortunately, I'm sure we all have things to do. You're all very busy people, so thank you for giving us some of your time and taking some time out to share a lot of your expertise and your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. And before we go, please, I would like to make sure that you guys are clicking on the link above the donor box and giving that 1 week's worth of your coffee, your lattes in the morning, your cappuccinos, your espresso, just one coffee a day. That's $5-6 a day. And if you put that towards this, it will be going to such a great cause. You know exactly where your money is going. It's a very, as you can see, the partnerships that TDRF has created, where the money is being spent, the transparency of the process as a whole, I think is really great. So I think we should support institutions such as TDRF and specifically the educational sector, which we have seen in the last couple of weeks has such amazing potential because of the impeccable, determined students that are within the education sector of Tigray. So please do donate. A little goes a long way. $25 would go a long way because it is being matched. So I encourage you to donate even after this space.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይጽዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።
In the heart of Tigray, a region that's faced unimaginable challenges, the light of hope still shines. This Giving Tuesday, join us as we help children of Tigray rekindle their journey of growth to secure a brighter future. For the children of Tigray, education is a dream worth fighting for. Despite the turmoil, teachers tirelessly work to ensure every child has a chance to learn. This Giving Tuesday, the Tigray Disaster Relief Fund will be raising funds to support children's education in Tigray. Your support will help provide essential learning resources and equip students with the tools they need to succeed. Together, we can make education a reality for Tigray's children. Every donation brings hope and light where it's needed most. Join us this Giving Tuesday in supporting the Tigray Disaster Relief Fund's campaign to inspire a generation by sending healing and hope. Together, we can build a brighter future for Tigray. Give the gift of education, give the gift of hope, give today.
ድሕሪ ከቢድ ሕሰምን መከራን ኣብ ትግራይ ኣፋፍኖት ተስፋ ይረአ ኣሎ። ኣብ ናይ ሎሚ ዓመት ወፍሪ ጊቪንግ ቱስደይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ብሩህ መጻኢ ንኽህልዎም ዘኽእል ስራሕቲ ዳግመ ህንፀት ንምክያድ ሓገዝ ክነተኣኻኽብ ኢና እሞ ኣብዚ ሰናይ ተበግሶ እጃምኩም ክተበርክቱ ንጽውዕ። ባህግን ሕልምን ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ዝኸውን ብትምህርቲ እዩ። መምሃራን ትግራይ ዝበፅሐ ዕንወትን ጥፋትን ተፃዊሮም ከይዲ ትምህርቲ ናብ ንቡር ንምምላስ ይጽዕሩ ኣለዉ። በዚ ወፍሪ TDRF ዓውዲ ትምህርቲ ትግራይ ብምሕዋይ ህፃናት ትግራይ ንምሕጋዝ ሓገዝ ከተኣኻኽብ እዩ። ሓገዝኩም ናውቲ ትምህርቲ ንምምላእ መምሃሪ መሳርሒ ንምዕዳግን ንተምሃሮ ዘድልዩ ዝተፈላለዩ መሳርሒ ትምህርቲ ንምቕራብን ክውዕል እዩ። ብሓባር ባህጊ ትምህርቲ ህፃናት ትግራይ ጋህዲ ንግበር። ኣብዚ ወፍሪ ብምስታፍ ንመጻኢ ወለዶ ዝጠቅም ድጋፍ ንግበር። ንተስፋን ሕወትን ንስራሕ። ሎሚ ውህብቶ ትምህርቲ ብምሃብ ተስፋ ናይ ጽባሕ ትግራይ ንጠጥዕ።